You know, being an emotional person is not necessarily a bad thing. It's only dangerous when your emotions start overriding the truth. Well, today on Choosing Your Future, we're going to look at the warning signs to make sure you stay out of danger. Here we go.
Life is not about you living in the past. It's not about you living in fear. It's about your dreams. It's about what you believe. Life is about you choosing your future.
Lessons for the future begin here.
Welcome to the Choosing Your Future podcast. This is episode 21, and this is part 2 of the mass murder of truth. And we're going to get into a lot of this, some of the warning signs, because whenever you are letting your emotions override truth, this can be a very dangerous thing. But before we get started, look, do us a favor. Go to choosingyourfuture.org. Check out the website. We also have a blog on there. It has the show notes. Also, there's some merch on there you might be interested in. There's even some stuff for dogs. All kinds of information, videos. And, if you like the podcast, share it with somebody. We would appreciate it. And if you like the podcast, give us a comment. Give us a like. Let us know you're listening. Let's go ahead and get started in this. I want to stress something here, because when we talk about emotions, we're not talking about emotions being a bad thing. We need emotions, but the problem is when emotions start to override logic and reasoning and truth and facts. That's when basically everything starts getting real dangerous, that we're so tied up emotionally into something that we can't see truth. We can't even reason with somebody. We can't even hear the facts. I've heard people say many a times, I don't care what the facts are. This is what I feel. Well, that's a dangerous place to be, because what you're saying is you are ignoring the realities of the situation. Proverbs 23 says, "Buy the truth and sell it not. Also wisdom and instruction and understanding." To buy something means there's an exchange happening. And what that exchange is, I'm giving up something to receive something. For instance, when you go buy something, you give them money, you get something. That's buying. That's the exchange. And Proverbs says, buy the truth, sell it not. Once you get the truth, don't sell it back. But it says not only to buy truth, but buy wisdom, understanding, and it also says, to buy instruction. When a person is so emotional that they can't understand, or they don't have the desire to understand truth and instruction and wisdom and knowledge, what they're doing is they're selling truth. They are literally just selling the truth. They are exchanging it for something that's not real. They are exchanging it for a lie. They're exchanging it for just feelings, because feelings not founded with logic and reasoning and truth and facts, you're not building anything on truth. So what are you building it on? There is no foundation there. See, the other thing is, there's some people, I have this gut feeling about something. Well, gut feeling is one thing, but you need to pursue the facts, listen to the facts. You need to listen to a little bit of reasoning to come to the truth if that gut feeling is right. Okay? But just feelings alone can lead us astray. They can be deceptive. There's a lot of people who feel they are in love. Then they've lost that loving feeling and it's gone. Oh, whoa, as the song says. So feelings can lead us astray. And it's important that once we get truth, we don't exchange it. We don't sell it. We don't give it up just for feelings of emotions and lots of times these feelings and emotions are what we want, not what is real, not what is reality. Let's look at something. So being an emotional person is not necessarily a bad thing, but when your emotions override truth, it's a dangerous thing. Because when emotions become truth or factual, or when you start thinking that your emotions are more true than truth is, the life that we live in the present, past, and even the future, it's nothing but a lie. If you start living in the emotionalism of something and start believing that what you're feeling is true more than what true is, that's where things get really dangerous. And now your whole past, present, and future, you're just living lies. You're living out the lie. We've all had friends or family members where we've seen this kind of thing. And it's a dangerous place to be. Because what happens is there is nothing to stand on. There's no sure foundation to stand on. Your whole life is built around just a feeling that you think is true. Not logic and reasoning, which is true. Truth is never hidden because truth is light, and the reason we don't see it is because we cover the light with our own selfishness and desires. So sometimes we want to push down the truth because we feel strongly about something. There may be a situation, let's say that, you got a man and a woman, and, she feels like he's the one, and she just her feelings are so wonderful, and maybe he's abusive, or maybe, he's been cheating on her, or maybe he's, not very good to her, but her feelings are so strong for him that she can't see the truth of what he really is. That's dangerous. Because if they have children, then their children grow up in that, and their children get affected by that. And then patterns are learned. And then they don't treat their spouses the way they should be treated. So many times truth is always there. We just got to acknowledge it. We've got to exchange it, so to speak, buy it, so to speak. And when we, with our own selfishness and desires, begin to push that truth down, we're covering it up. And that's what feelings do. That's why when you tell somebody, here's the facts, well, I don't care what the facts are. This is what I feel. What they're doing is they're pushing that truth down. They don't want to see it. It's there, but they don't want to see it. I told somebody this one time. The sweetness of the lie always tastes better to the palate of the emotions rather than the bitterness of truth. Bitterness or truth sometimes can be bitter when we are so sweetened on our emotions and feelings. Sometimes, as the old saying goes, the truth hurts. Why does it hurt? Because our emotions are so tied into something that's not truthful. And when truth comes along, man, it's a bitter pill to swallow because you put all this feeling, all this emotion in it, and it's a dangerous place to be. So it's vitally important that we start recognizing some of the warning signs that would lead us to understand that maybe we aren't being very receptive of the truth. So here's kind of some things you need to start looking for. When society stops listening to logic and reasoning and becomes led by emotions, there is a mass murder of truth, and the destruction of that society is not far off. So if we don't start paying attention to some of these warning signs, it can destroy a whole society because we're believing something that's based on emotions and that's not really real. Because emotions, ignores logic and reasoning and facts and truth, and eventually lead to some sort of lawlessness. When we stop believing in logic and reasoning, and when we start just, this is what I feel, this is what I feel, eventually there's a lawlessness that's going to start happening in relationships, government, in spiritual matters. There's a lawlessness that starts taking form because it's logic and reasoning that gives us a crosswalk, if you will, to be able to cross the street safely in life. And so if we aren't careful, we're going to develop a lifestyle that doesn't even obey logic and reasoning. If we say the fire is hot and we feel, no, it's not, and we put our hands in it, we're going to get burned. That's lawlessness. That's breaking the law of physics. And in many cases, we're breaking, quote unquote, laws of physics mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And it's going to give a moral breakdown in society if we don't start listening to logic and reasoning and truth and stop being led by our emotions. So here's a couple of things, and if we run out of time, we'll get it in the next episode. But here's a few things on how to tell if you're emotional driven versus truth driven. Number one, you don't care about the facts in front of you. You're not teachable. You don't care. I don't care what it says. This is what I feel. Well, at some point in time, if what you feel is real, we've got to base it with facts. We've got to base it with some kind of truth. We've got to base it with logic and reasoning, so you can have a sure foundation to stand on in life with your life. You know, feelings can lead you astray. They can definitely do it. Here's another one. When emotions are confronted with truth, there is a defensive mechanism that starts to happen. People say things like, well, you're full of hate, or you're not loving, you're not tolerant, you're mean. No, it's none of those. We're not full of hate. We're not full of we are loving. I've always said this, the truth doesn't let you have your way. It confronts your way. If I really love you, I'm going to tell you the truth. And even if it's bitter and hard for you to swallow, I'm doing it because I love you, because I'm tired of you going down this path of emotional lies that's leading you astray, that's taking you further from life, not leading you to life. And so the reason why they say things like that is because it hurts. The truth does hurt sometimes. Here's one more. You're resistant to logic and reasoning, meaning your ears are closed, you don't want to hear. Your eyes are shut, you don't want to see it. Your mind is closed, you don't want to rationalize it. And the dangerous thing is when your heart gets hardened. This is where it becomes really, really dangerous. When we start to have a hardened heart because of the fact we don't want to hear the truth and we want to go with what we feel, this is where humility starts disappearing. And when there's no humility, there's no grace. The Bible says in James, it says, God gives grace to the humble. He resists the proud, but he gives grace to the humble. And even humanity has that tendency to show more grace to humble people. But when you start letting your feelings and your emotions start dictating the hardness of your heart, everything about your life is about to change drastically because of the fact it's not pliable. And the very thing you set out to be, you become the opposite. There's a lot of people who've put their feelings out there. They didn't hear the truth, and yet they had good intentions, had great intentions. But because they didn't listen to truth, this loving, wonderful person became a hard person. They became a person that couldn't love. Your future is all about loving people. That's what it should be. Giving and receiving. But the only way we can do that is hear the truth, live by it, stay humble, and walk in love. Be teachable. You got a choice.
Thank you for listening to the Choosing Your Future podcast. For more information, please visit choosingyourfuture.org. That's choosingyourfuture.org.